Welcome back to another episode of Sports Test by Jellyman, AFL by Jellyman segment here on Wednesday the 5th of April, reviewing round 3, previewing round 4 and also covering off a few stats, insights, player and team consistencies, etc, etc. Jumping into topic 1, so round 3, I guess review and takeaways. So last Thursday we had the Dogs beating the Lions 67-53. Watching bits and bobs of this game, it was mainly the Lions sort of midfield that wasn't dominant enough against the Doggies midfield, but then the Doggies defence actually held up super strong, and the Lions couldn't keep the ball in like they needed to, and then going down the other end, the Dogs just kicked straight. It's as simple as that. Obviously the Dogs didn't want to drop to 0-3 as well. Brisbane travelling down to Melbourne, a couple of small factors there. But essentially the Dogs obviously get a win and get off that 0-2 label, 1-2, and the Lions are also 1-2 with a big game against Collingwood this week. Then into Friday night's game, so the Pies versus the Tigers, Collingwood winning 63-49. Bit of wetness at the start of the game due to a bit of rain prior, which obviously slowed the ball movement, but really it was Collingwood's inaccuracy. 8-15 they kicked compared to Richmond's 7-7, and a lot of the goals late that Richmond kicked, they actually kicked a lot of behinds as well. I think Lynch was 1-3 for the game, so they actually could have gotten that game a lot tighter. The takeaway from that one was essentially Collingwood not kicking straight, not putting the game away early was crucial. Also, Collingwood winning the ball through the middle. So, Degoe had 35, Mitchell had 30, N.Daicos obviously at the back line, I think 33 as well. So, compared to Richmond's players who, some of them did get the footy. Like I look quickly here, Baker had 32, Taranto had 29, but it's how they're using it. Even Dan Riola 25, but you look at the other side. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the top 10 players were obviously Collingwood possessed players as well, and the behinds. Ash Johnson 3 behinds, Degoe 3 behinds, McStay 2 behinds. So, if Collingwood had put that one away early, it could have been a lot bigger of a win there. And it actually cost us our line as well, by obviously 1.5 points or 2 points per se. Moving on to Saturday's game, so the big Saturday fixture, the Hawks versus North. So Hawthorn obviously beating North Melbourne down there in Launceston 80-61. We left the head-to-head in this game, stayed away from it. For the simple fact, Hawthorn obviously very tough to play down there in Hobart, or down there in Launceston, sorry. And then North, obviously a couple out. So Simpkin was out, and then Aldiu was out late. So, two of their big on-ball winners, obviously leaving Sheasel and Cunnington there in the middle, who are good players, but, two superstar players out makes all the world of difference for a team like North Melbourne, sort of building and growing there. Nothing too much to cover off in that game there. The next game was the Giants versus Carlton, obviously quite wet in Sydney as well. Carlton wins 74-64. Carlton kicked 9 goals, 20 behind. So you compare that to Collingwood, obviously, on the Friday night. Looking at those behinds markets for wet games this weekend, potentially. Even Giants 9-4 as well there. The Giants actually dominated this game from halfway through the second quarter onwards. So obviously Carlton escaped with a win, which is crucial for them. And as sort of good analysts say, these are the games you look back when you potentially make the top 4, compared to just making the top 8, are all the difference there. So, Carlton will go in, have a look at their review, go, yep, we got the win there, move on to next week. St Kilda Essendon, so the Saints get a win 92-74. The impressive part of that was obviously the start, and Essendon just fell behind too early to then get back in the game. St Kilda playing with, they don't even have their full squad at the moment, and still super impressive. They're without obviously without a lot of players at the moment. You look at the possessions, fairly even across the board. Mason Wood playing really well. Jack Sinclair of halfback. There's not too much to cover off with St Kilda, but we need to sort of see a bit more from them in terms of playing those top tier teams. Because pretty sure the same thing happened. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before, where I think they went 7-1 to start, and they fell off a cliff just because they had quite an easier draw at the start. But it'll be interesting to see how these two teams go against the top tier squads this season. Moving into the showdown in Adelaide, so Port Adelaide lost to the Adelaide Crows, so Adelaide 117 to 86. And it just comes back to that contested football again and who wanted it more. It seemed like Adelaide, when they got it and went forward, they just dominated Port. Going the other way, it wasn't a high possession game. There were actually a lot of goals quick and a lot of quick ball movement. Thilthorpe 5 goals, Rankine 4 goals, Pedler 3 goals. 3 goal kickers there kicking 12 goals between the 3 of them. It obviously clearly stems to that back line for Port Adelaide just not stepping up. Or alternatively, they're not getting the pressure up the ground through the midfield to then slow the ball movement down going forward. Be interested to see. They play Sydney at the SCG this week. Depending on the weather, they may get smacked again if that's still the case through that midfield group. Sunday's games. The Gold Coast Suns have beat the Geelong Cats 73 to 54. We actually went to this game, so saw it live. It was a fairly back and forth game. Neither team could kick straight or kick straight in crucial moments. Gold Coast kicked 10-13, Geelong kicked 7-12, and it wasn't per se goals from tough angles. It was goals from 35, 40 out straight in front on a slight angle that really should have been kicked from both sides. Geelong's defence at the moment and even their midfield just looks average at best. I mean, Stewart down back went well, Guthrie went well, but who else is going with them? They don't have many sort of AA class midfielders. It's more, we watched Danger quite closely actually. He had 19 touches of footy in the goal, but a lot of his kicks were just long down the line, not really looking to who he's kicking to, and then it was turned over by the backs of Gold Coast and then fling around the other way through the corridor and then, down to a goalward shot. There wasn't too much takeaway from this game. Obviously, David Swallow's 200th, which is super impressive there for the club, and they got up for that reason. Heading back down to St Kilda this week, to play St Kilda in Melbourne this week. It will be an interesting contest for them. Saints obviously towards the top end of the ladder, 3-0. The Suns 1-2, but that's definitely a winnable game for them there. Melbourne playing Sydney. We sort of missed this one, but we sort of watching the scores there and then watching it back. Melbourne 134 to 84. It was close at one stage and the D's just kicked away through the midfield group, just dominating. The only players 20 plus for Sydney were Mills 25, Lloyd 21, Florent 21, and then Warner had 19, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the Demons players were 20 plus, with obviously Petrarca having 33 as well. And then up forward, they were just super accurate. Van Rooyen, for I think his first game, 3 goals straight, Fritsch 3 goals straight, Chandler 3 goals straight, Spargo 2 goals straight, Oliver 2 goals straight, Hunter 2 goals straight. Just super accurate there for the Demons there at the MCG on a good afternoon. Obviously, Sydney head back to the SCG this week, and after a 50-point hiding and 2 50-point wins, to be wanting to jump back on the winning bandwagon against Port Adelaide this week. Last game of the round, the Dockers versus the Eagles. Unfortunately for the Eagles, they just had too many injuries. They had no bench by the end of the game, and they were actually within the game. We chucked it on in the second quarter there, and it looked quite an even contest. And then, all the Eagles started to fall, and then it was like, well, it's just a matter of time before the Dockers kick away. Sarong had 35, Kelly 33, but ran at a low disposal efficiency. Aish 31, Gaff 28. In terms of goals, Michael Walters, after not playing with round one, he's been kicking super well up forward. And it seems like those small forwards of the Dockers are doing a lot more damage than those bigger forwards there, which is quite a good sign for them there, how they're kicking their goals. But not too much to take away from that game, other than the Dockers get a win and get off 0-2. Topic 2, some key stats for round 3 that we already may have touched on, but obviously in terms of disposals, largest disposals for the game, Cripps 42, Docherty from the same squad 39, Parrish 35, Sarong 35, DeGoey 35, Tom Green from GWS 34, Daicos, that's the Nick kind, 33, Petrarca 33, Tim Kelly 33, Brad Crouch 32 from St Kilda, Liam Baker 32, Aish from Freo 31, Neale 31, McRae 30, Josh Kelly from GWS 30, Tom Mitchell 30, Ash 30 from GWS, and Dale 30 there. Obviously, we'll have player and team consistencies that we go through next as well, which will cover off the consistencies of some of those players. Maybe not a couple of them though, because they haven't been consistent and just sort of had a big game out of nowhere. In terms of goals, Lukosius kicked 5, Ugle-Hayden kicked 5, Thilthorpe kicked 5, Walters 4, Rankine 4, Butler 4, Higgins 4. all of those, goal kickers were either in good condition, so Lukosius up on the Gold Coast, Ugle-Hagan under the roof at Marvel, Thilthorpe in good conditions at Adelaide, Walters in good conditions in Perth, Rankine, obviously Adelaide, Butler and Higgins under the roof for St Kilda. Just a quick side note with that, obviously with games at the MCG, and that's the thing, potentially not looking at larger goal kickers, depending if the weather is nice or it's not nice. There is some rain about in both Sydney and Melbourne this weekend, so it'll be something we'll be watching closely. Topic 3, player and team consistency. So we'll go through team by team on this one. We'll also throw this in the show notes to have a look at. But essentially Adelaide, so some consistencies there. 184 plus total points in their first 4 games, but they've allowed 86 plus points in their first 2 games. Player consistencies, Rachele, 15 plus disposals in his first 3. Hinge, 15 plus in his first 3. And Brodie Smith, 15 plus in his first 3. Rankine, 2 plus goals in his first 3 games. And Rachele, 6 goals in 3 games there. Brisbane, their last 2 games within 15 points or less. They do play Collingwood this week, so we'll be looking into that one there. Player consistencies, Neale, 25 plus in his last 2 games. McKenna off the half-back line, 15 plus disposals in his first 3 games. Berry, 15 plus in his first 3 games as well. Zach Bailey, 2 plus goals in 2 of 3 games. And Gunston, 2 plus goals in 2 of 3 games for him as well. For Carlton, team consistencies, all 3 games by 10 points or less, so quite close contest. They play North Melbourne this week. North do get back a couple of players, maybe Carlton 1 to 39 or North plus line, especially being the Good Friday game. Both teams will want to get up for that one. In terms of player consistencies, Cripps, 25 plus in his first 3. Docherty, 20 plus in his first 3. Cerra, 20 plus in his first 3 as well. Hewett, 20 plus in his 2 games. Curnow, 10 goals in 3 games, but also 2 plus goals in his first 3. Always 2 plus goals in his last 2 games there. For Collingwood, 2 of their 3 wins by 22 points or less. As we sort of touched on, they played Brizzy this week. N.Daicos, 30 plus in his first 3. J.Daicos, 25 plus in his first 3. He's also paying about 194 for 25 plus this week as well. Tom Mitchell, 25 plus in his last 2 games. Pendles, 20 plus in all 3 games. Cripps, same thing, 20 plus in all 3. Myercheck, 1 plus goal in all 3 games. Bobby Hill, 1 plus goal in all 3 games as well. Elliott and McStay. Elliott, 2 plus goals in his last 2. And McStay, 1 plus goal in all his 3 games. Looking at Essendon, all 3 games, 166 plus total points, so scoring there, obviously under the dome at Marvel does help for them. They play GWS this week. That could be a total points over for that matchup. Player consistencies for them, Parrish 30 plus in all 3 games, Merritt 25 plus in all 3, Setterfield 20 plus in all 3, Shield 20 plus in all 3 games, Durham and Caldwell 15 plus in all 3 games, Perkins and Menzies 1 plus goal in all their 3 games so far. Fremantle, they haven't allowed over 73 points. And then player consistencies, Sarong 29 plus in all 3, Brayshaw 25 plus in all 3, Switkowski 15 plus in all 3, Walters 6 goals in 2 games, Frederick Schultz and Switkowski 1 plus goal in all 3 games for all those 3 players. The Giants, they've allowed 74 plus points in all 3 games. So as we mentioned, they're versing Essendon this week. So it'd be good to look into the total points over that game, or Essendon scoring well, goal kickers, etc., etc. Player consistency then, Tom Green killing it, 34, 27, and 37 in his first 3. Caniglio, 28 plus disposals in his first 3 games. Josh Kelly, 25 plus in his 2 games. Ash, 20 plus in all 3 games. Cumming, 20 plus also in all 3 games. Haynes, 15 plus in all 3 games. Toby Green up for 9 goals in 3 games. Was helped just 1 goal last game. Hogan, 2 plus goals in all 3 games. And Brent Daniel, 1 plus goal in all 3 games. Geelong, all 3 losses by 22 points or less, so close losses there. They obviously play Hawthorn on Monday, on Easter Monday, so it'll be an interesting contest there. Guthrie, 25 plus in his last 2. Smith, Isaac, 20 plus disposals in all 3 games. Cameron, 15 plus in all 3. Myers, same thing, all 3 games, 15 plus. Cameron actually 11 goals in 3 games. Not in all 3 games, in 3 games. And then Rowan, 1 plus goal in all 3 games. Did come on as a sub last week and sort of sparked him up there. Gold Coast, Miller, 20 plus. Miller and Rao, 20 plus in all 3 games. Weller, 20 plus in his first 2 games. Ainsworth 15 plus disposals in all 3. King and Jeffrey, all 3 games, they have scored 1 plus goal. For Hawthorn, Sicily 25 plus disposals in his first 3 games. Day 25 plus in his last 2 games. More 20 plus in all 3 games. And that's all for that one. So what we'll also have Melbourne, North Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Richmond, St Kilda, Sydney, West Coast and Western Bulldogs. We'll have all of those team stats in the show notes for you as well to have a look into rather than going into depth. We'll just jump straight into the round 4 preview. So topic 4, so Brisbane versus Collingwood at the Gabba, Thursday evening. It's looking to be nice weather on the Gabba. Let me just check that one up there. Yep, partly cloudy tomorrow evening at the Gabba. Should be fine. Brisbane's actually won its last 8 matches at home after a loss. 6 of the Lions' last 7 games at the Gabba have gone over, and Collingwood hasn't covered the line in 4 of their last 5 games at the Gabba as well. So quite a few interesting stats there. It will be a tightly knitted contest. The teams aren't up as of yet. Nope, they're not up as of yet. But looking at previous matchups, 98 to 91, the Lions way, 142 to 57, the Lions way in 2021, 73-72. Back in 2021 there. It'll be an interesting matchup. We'll need to have a bit more look into depth about who's playing, who's not playing for that matchup prior to us making a decision. But, the Lions at home could give Collingwood their first loss, just being back at home at the Gabba. They'll want to get up for that matchup there. Friday's game, so North Melbourne versus Carlton. North have lost 19 of their last 20 games versus teams above them on the ladder. In the last 4 matches between North Melbourne and Carlton have gone over, so over the total points line. And then Carlton has covered the line in their last 5 matches, but it is quite a large line for this matchup, with North Melbourne paying $4 and Carlton $1.25, which means the line's about that minus 30 points mark. Previous games between these sides, Carlton won last season 114 to 64. North actually won in 2021 116 to 77. And then the year prior, Carlton won 64 to 57. We see this game being a bit closer of a game, potentially Carlton 1 to 39 or the North plus line. North do get back LDU and also Simpkin through the midfield. We need to sort of see who's rucking for either side there as well, because that's potentially a spot that'll win the game for either side going forward especially, but sort of we'll having a look a bit more in depth at that one, potentially North Melbourne plus line or Carlton 139 with total match points over, being there at Marvel under the roof. Saturday's games, so the first game there we've got Adelaide versus Fremantle in Adelaide. It's got Adelaide has lost 6 of their last 7 games at home following a win, and then the last 6 matches have gone over the total points line, and then Freo's actually covered the line in their last 9 April matches, which is a few interesting stats there. Adelaide weather is looking, I think, average prior to when So Saturday, rain is expected, scattered showers, which would probably suit Fremantle. Obviously, with the way they played defensively, and it'll just depend, obviously, through the midfield. We do like Fremantle in that one, depending on who they have. They need to go 2-2. Them falling to 1-3 as a potential premiership contender or in the finals race, and then losing to Adelaide. Adelaide are exciting, but they just don't still have the crop across the field, I think, to beat Fremantle. The next game is Richmond versus the Western Bulldogs. Richmond do get a couple of stars back for this one, but will be without also a couple once again. The Dogs obviously showed a bit last week. This one's at the MCG. Just going to have a look at, for the Western Bulldogs, how they played at the MCG last year and previously. Last season, Richmond did beat them same time last year, 99-61 at the MCG. And then Richmond's actually won the last few games against them, 77-55, 90-49, and then last season, 99-61. So just needing to have a look at the lineups for that one and see how they both look. St Kilda versus the Gold Coast Suns. St Kilda favoured 150, Gold Coast 261. The Suns obviously going down to Marvel to play them there. St Kilda did win this matchup last season around the same time, 87-61, and did actually win the previous 2 matchups as well, 63-54 and 78-74. St Kilda's actually won their last 7 matches against the Gold Coast, and 7 of the last 8 have gone total match points under. So at Marvel, both team's likely more defensive. St Kilda's actually covered the line in the last 4 as well, and they've won the last 7 matches versus Gold Coast by 1-39, so a closer contest there. Last match for the evening on Saturday is Sydney versus Port Adelaide. Sydney's actually won their last 9 matches at the SCG, and Port Adelaide's last 8 matches have gone total match points over. The weather in Sydney is looking as so. It's supposed to be beautiful and sunny on Saturday after thunderstorms on Friday, so Saturday evening should be quite nice weather in Sydney. Sydney's also covered the line in their last 6 night matches as well. Sunday's games, Essendon versus GWS Giants. So this one will be under the roof at Marvel. Look at the total match points over in this one. Already sort of mentioned it, GWS has lost their last 11 matches versus teams in the top 8. Essendon's last 5 have gone over, so total match points over. And then GWS has covered the line in the last 6 matches versus Essendon as an underdog, but that may not happen in this matchup. Looking at maybe Essendon dash total points over for this one. Last game for the Sunday evening contest is West Coast versus Melbourne. West Coast decimated by injuries. Melbourne obviously heading back over there where they had quite fond memories in Perth. Look, Melbourne should win that one comfortably and cover the line as well, like they did last season against the Eagles, I think, when they went over there earlier in the season. 112-38 was their last contest, and that was in Perth. Back in 2021, it was 72-63, but unfortunately for the Eagles, we may see a similar contest to that of last year when they were decimated by injuries. Monday's game, Geelong versus Hawthorn. Geelong are short price favourites, 119. Hawks are 475. After what we saw from Geelong, the Hawks want to get up for this one this week, and they can potentially play a different style to what they did round 1 and 2, as they showed last week. They can chip the ball around and work through whatever they need to. I think this one will be a lot closer than what I guess the line's sort of saying. Last season, the Hawks actually won this matchup 92-80. And the season prior, it was 69-64 Geelong's way. So 2 close contests in the last 2 years, and that's been with Sam Mitchell at the helm and also the players that Hawthorn do have. So blooding those fresh youngsters coming through. That's topic 4 out of the way. Last but not least, we've got sort of round 4 best bets. Sorry, I was right. And looking at sports bet for this one, jumping into for the Thursday night's game, and we'll go into quickly. So for Thursday night's game, we talked about Brisbane and the total match points over. Along with Sydney, they've obviously won a lot of their games at the SCG, and the GWS loss and West Coast loss. So that is 402 on Sportsbet or 404 on Bet365. So that's total match points over between Brisbane and Collingwood, Sydney head-to-head, Essendon head-to-head, and Melbourne head-to-head there. For Thursday night stats, we like Connor McKenna 15+, in his 15+, N.Daicos 30+, J.Daicos 25+, McStay 1+. That'll get you $5 on Sportsbet. For Friday's game, so we like Sheasel 25+, Larky 2+, Cripps 25+, and Curnow 2+. That'll get you $3.40 on Sportsbet. For Saturday's games, Rankine 2+, Brayshaw 25+, McRae 25+, Brad Crouch, St Kilda 25+, Gresham 1+ goal, Hayward 1+ goal. That'll get you $5.81 on Sportsbet. For Sunday's games, Parrish 30+, Hogan 2+ goals, Gaff 20+, Chandler 1+. That'll get you $4.08 on Sportsbet. And then for Monday's games, Smith 20+, Cameron 3+ goals, Eamon 20+ disposals, Sicily 25. That'll get you $4.50 on Sportsbet. What we'll also do is have these in TikTok and Instagram Reels. So we'll cover off, Isaac Smith 20+ disposals in his first 3 games. List it off, list the price again, so you sort of don't miss it if you don't get time to watch this one. But that is all for this week. Thank you for listening to Sports Tips by Jellyman, AFL by Jellyman segment. As always, feel free to like, follow, and subscribe for more information on recommendations, insights, stats for your AFL or NRL season ahead. Thank you.